Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, I'd say happy Monday, but there's no such thing. So I guess I'll just ask you how Father's Day went.
Father's Day went phenomenally. Had a great time. We had a bunch of friends over who were fathers and just, all guys who I am proud to call friends. We ate barbecue. We smoked cigars. We did well.
Did you have any sausage on that grill there? Because it sounds like a sausage party. Did you have any sausage on that grill?
Let me clarify. Dads and their families.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. It's kind of a Father's. I mean, I'm used to Father's Day celebrations, but not with a room full of just fathers. That's weird, but okay. But
no. It was them and their families. We just all kind of got together, barbecued, had a good time, ate, drank.
Be merry. Yep.
And we're merry. Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
How was your Father's Day?
I had most of the day by myself. The women that live at my house were out of town, so quiet in the morning and a nice evening. So, yeah, very
nice.
Very nicely played. Nicely played.
Very nice. By the way, about making Mondays being happy. See, the thing about Mondays is I've kind of resolved myself that I'm going to be working this week. So it's not like I'm looking forward to being off, in the next couple of days. So it actually, being much more resolved, it actually makes it for a much more pleasant day.
I prefer to think of Mondays as Taco Tuesday Eve.
Taco Tuesday Eve. Okay. I'll buy that for $1.
Yep.
Today also happens to be the honoring of the federal holiday Juneteenth, which recognizes the formal, or at least the end of slavery, or at least when the last of those who were enslaved found out about slavery. It's now a national holiday. I think Republicans celebrate it for different reasons than Democrats do, because Democrats, they generally tend to use it as a day in which to, what's the word I'm looking for? Complain about systematic racism. That's more kind of what their function of this day is.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had no idea it was Juneteenth till I tried to go to the bank and the post office this morning. Then found out it was Juneteenth. But oh well. So I'm curious, Craig, did you celebrate the whole day or just half the day?
I celebrate the entire day. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I will just tell you that just because of that joke, you will now be sent officially to racial sensitivity training. I will be notifying the director of HR you've got some training to do.
I will gladly give another class to people. I enjoy giving training, so it'll work out.
Yeah, we know. See, the thing about Mike and his anti-racism or discrimination training is he knows how to discriminate really well. So he says, "Don't do this," and then he does it.
I know you're going to not believe me. I'm a human diversity instructor for the government, and have taught many of those classes, and that's kind of how you teach it. You have to let them know what's wrong in order for them to know what's wrong.
And I'm an expert at doing wrong. Is that your line?
Yeah. Well, it's actually like a lot of the terms out there, and I'm not going to use them, have a root in history and what they mean and how they became those words. So helping people understand what they mean will keep them from using them inappropriately.
There you go. Because inappropriate.
Oh, I got you, baby. I got you. Listen, Craig, the left is so far swung to the left right now that in order to come back, listen, the pendulum's not going to stop right in the middle when it comes back. You got to have a little weight pulling it the other way to the right. Yeah. So we got to try, and if we want to bring it back to the middle, we got to be just as far right as they are left.
Yes, that is the truth. No doubt about it. All right. Well, it's about time for us to get into the program. But before we do, we always make sure to give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yep. Let's say hey to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. Hitmanindustries.net. If you got an AR in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels, don't even know it. Well, now you can buy from them direct at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Please pay attention to California's 6th congressional race as well. Hog Holsters, that's HAWG Get yourself the best in tactical holsters on the market. Use the tactical concealed holsters on the market. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, all one word. And finally, if you want some awesome field gear, going to the hiking gear, going fishing, whatever it happens to be, check out our friends at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. So do us a favor, do them a favor, do yourself a favor. Follow the links in the description to this program, and you can go to their websites, check them out. If you like what you see there, spend some money with them. And by the way, make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. Also, if you haven't already done so, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same. Tell them, look, there's tons of ways you can partake. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to just listen to the program, but if you want to watch the program, wherever you watch on YouTube, OpsLens, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, you can also watch us as well. So we encourage you folks to participate and partake. We don't care how you partake. We just care that you partake.
Smoke them if you got them.
Smoke them if you got them. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's stories. Our first story has to do with Europe rejecting gender-affirming care for minors. Now, this is an important one because America, or the United States of America, seems to be all in on the idea that we need to make it so that our children can change their genders, regardless of the fact that, regardless of any evidence that is out there that, maybe it's not the best thing for our children to, I don't know, have children with not fully developed brains, making decisions that could have lifelong repercussions. In any case, there's a story out now with Fox News pointing out that Europe breaks against puberty blockers as U.S. becomes outlier in defending treatments for transgender minors. It says here, several countries in Europe are now discouraging giving puberty blockers to children as the outlier United States continues to defend the treatment, according to a new report. The United Kingdom's National Health Service limited the use of puberty blockers for clinical research this month, according to its website, citing significant uncertainties surrounding the use of hormone treatments. We are now going out to targeted stakeholder testing on an interim clinical commissioning policy proposing that outside of the research setting, puberty-suppressing hormones should not be routinely commissioned for children and adolescents who have gender incongruence/dysphoria, the UK's NHS website reads. Now, Mike, once again, the interesting thing about this whole thing is we've said from the very beginning that this is an experiment that they have been doing on children. They do not know the long-term effects of cross-gender hormone treatment as well as puberty blockers, which, by the way, are the same exact drugs that they give to sex offenders in order to chemically castrate them. We may know the long-term effects on an adult male, but we don't know what those effects are going to be on children. And now in Europe, they're saying, maybe we've jumped the shark. Maybe we ought to actually go back and investigate some of this stuff.
Listen, if Europe, and it looks like UK in the lead there, are now saying that opposed to the transgender treatment of children, it's time to start paying attention. Okay, you've got half the modern world over there, right? That is saying, don't do this. In Europe, typically been more socialized than the rest of us, has now come out and said, Okay, that's crazy. That's crazy. Craig, they probably followed us into it going, well, if the U.S. is doing it, it must be all right. And then after a little bit of looking at it, they're like, how do we get caught up in this? Get out. Get out as fast as we can.
Well, the thing is, Mike, is they consider, at least in America, they consider the transgender science around transgenderism, they consider it to be settled, even though it's not settled at all. And clearly, as others are starting to look at it, they're realizing that it's not settled. They're recognizing that suicide rates amongst those who transition are no different than those who have not transitioned. There's also significant questions about levels of depressions haven't changed. Other mental health issues or challenges that they have been facing are no different once they transition. In fact, in some cases, they're saying it's getting worse because they've already spent a significant amount of resources, money, as well as sacrificed their futures because in some cases they are now sterile. They've had some of these kids have had their breasts removed. Some of them have had their other stuff removed, and there's no going back. And they realize that they did all this and they can't undo it.
Yeah, just to clarify, the U.S. and our current administration considers the science settled. Europe has decided it's not settled, right? And they're backing away from it. Yes,
exactly. And as I've noted time and time again, whether it's the stuff that's in the books, or whether it's the curriculum that's being taught in schools, or whether it's this stuff, the opposition has never been about people. You want to have access to this stuff as an adult and all that stuff and make those life-changing, body-changing, physical, medical changes to yourself you want to make. That's fine. But we got to protect children. We cannot have children exposed to and engaged in some of this stuff. And I think that's where I think most people are, at least right now, the polls, at least all the polls that I've seen, it's like a 70-30 issue with 70% of the population being like, what the heck are you doing? And at least part of the 30% doesn't really know what's going on, isn't really hearing all of this information, all of this opposition information.
The administration wants us to restrict firearm sales to those until they get to 21. How many other things do we know that we could do at 18 years old because that's your age of majority, you become an adult? Hell, Craig, you can't alter your body with a tattoo until you become 18 years old. But I guess it's okay to lop your junk off if you want to when you're 12 and take all these medications. Yeah, this should simply be make this an adult's decision. Sorry, children. And we shouldn't be preaching it to them and grooming them in school either.
Right. And for those of you who think that is a crude way to put it, the fact is that's exactly what it is. Yeah. I know some people are going to be offended for you describing it as what it is, but that's what it is. Sorry to offend you.
Sorry, I said behind the tailpipe, but that wouldn't have been more accurate.
No, that would not have been good. That most definitely would not have been good. Okay, and I just realized I just closed out the window for my next story, so I'm going to go ahead and reopen that window because I'm kind of bright like that.
Well, it is Taco Tuesday Eve, so we're all still a little groggy.
It is Taco Tuesday Eve. All right, here we go. Next story. Now I know that you thought that we had put an end to climate change with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. Yes, you heard what I said. The Inflation Reduction Act, which actually did absolutely nothing to reduce inflation, by all accounts, did nothing to reduce inflation, but also included billions of dollars for climate change. Well, guess what? Joe Biden is planning $600 million more in additional climate spending. It says here, President Biden pledged another $1 billion to the UN Climate Fund in April. It says here, President Biden will announce plans to spend an additional $600 million on efforts to address climate change on Monday. Biden will hold an event Monday in Palo Alto, California, touting his administration's efforts to bolster defense against rising sea levels and associated weather catastrophes. The funding includes $575 million to reinforce coastal infrastructure and $67 million to protect California's power grid from weather events. Now, Mike, I'm like this. If you want to protect California's power grid against weather events, how about you do this? Number one, drill, baby, drill. Because last I checked, drilling for oil or even natural gas, not really affected by weather events.
Yeah, right. Very much so. Craig, I kind of like the idea of him spending this money for your infrastructure projects along the coastline there, because we're going to need to have those areas secure and firm in order to build the train from the Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean that the president proposed in a speech on Saturday. So, maybe controlling the sea levels will be so the trains don't wash off the tracks. Maybe that's what it is. But President decided this weekend he was going to talk about a train being built for across the Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean. And for $600 million, Craig, I want to see it. I want to see it done.
I mean, I guess making sure that the infrastructure is in place to make sure in the event that, so, our military bases and whatnot aren't getting flooded and stuff like that, or our coastlines are protected. I'm not against that. My issue, quite frankly, is you couldn't have put that money in the massive spending bills that you've already put forward. I mean, why do we continue to spend more? What exactly is that other money going to, other than to go to some environmental companies to bolster their stock prices so that they can engage in activities that we know, in fact, have failed in the past and will continue to fail going into the future?
It's simple, Craig. You've got a current president that it's clear he's not going to get reelected, much less even make it through the reelection campaign. So the handlers of the party got together and said, we need to get more money now rather than wait till the second term because he may not get it. So let's go get all this more money for our special projects, our own special interest projects, and make this happen.
That does appear to be what is appear to be what is going on in this particular case. Sad state of affairs.
I still want to see the train. There is video of that. Maybe we'll show it to you tomorrow.
Maybe we will. Yeah, I've seen the drawings. I didn't vote for him. Just so y'all know. Just so you know.
Did you not vote for him?
I did not vote for him.
There you go.
Okay. Just to be clear. All right. 83% of those polled say they want the FBI to release the Biden bribery public file. They want them to make it public. This is the file that it exists because it's now been read over there at the FBI. And to be clear, what this file is someone came to the FBI and they said that they had evidence, including recordings of Joe Biden, or recordings that prove that Joe Biden received $5 million, or was it $10 million, $5 million split between him and Hunter by a foreign national. Now, this person said that they had tapes that could prove that this was the case. And the FBI chose not to follow up on it, not to even investigate, not to even get the tapes, right? That's supposedly what happened. And so now that Republicans have actually gone and they've read it, now they won't release the file. The FBI won't release the file. They won't put it out there and make it available to the public. They wouldn't even let congressional leaders take a copy of the file, probably because they know what would happen. As what happens in all of these cases, pieces of the file would have gotten leaked. We know this. Republicans do it, Democrats do it. It just happens. But here it says 83% of voters believe FBI should make public its informant file that alleges President Joe Biden accepted a $5 million bribe from Ukrainian oligarch, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, the founder of Burisma Holdings, a recent Harvard-Harris poll found. The poll asked respondents, do you think the FBI report from an informant alleging Joe Biden took $5 million bribe while vice president should be made public or kept secret by the FBI. Overall, 83% said the FBI should make the file public. Only 17% say they should be kept secret. Among the participants, 74% of Democrats, 82% of independents, 92% of Republicans say the file should be made public. Seems kind of a no-brainer, right? Public should know?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, it's Mikola Zolchevsky. It's a pretty easy name, actually. I know you didn't try and pronounce it. Yeah, Craig, why don't we have this? I mean, I wonder if Adam Schiff saw a copy of this, like all the other documents that he saw, nobody else in Congress got to saw. The ones, remember, he kept quoting that he knew, then ended up getting censure for. Yeah, if this exists, how is it not public record? If they're telling us they're not investigating anymore, it's still not even an active investigation, so they can't even claim that. Are they claiming some sort of national security threat because somebody mentioned the president in it? Did they mention any kind of launch codes or anything? No. I'm just curious because evidently you can't have launch codes even if they're declassified. So,
well, I it's kind of dumbfounding, but you're right, because they're saying, well, we don't want. Part of it is they're like, well, we don't want to we don't want to incriminate the president or make it look like he's guilty of something by putting this information out there. But I'm like, we already know the file exists. So now that we know the file exists, if you don't put it out there, if you don't follow up on it, at the very least, if your goal is to discredit it or to prove that it wasn't even valid, if you don't put it out there, then all that's left for us to believe is you're covering up for the president.
Yeah, if their reason for not releasing is because they don't want to interrupt the president and make the president look bad, keep the image clear, then why? How can you impeach a president then? How do you impeach? How do you charge a president with things that are never proven and get to impeachments? So you could bother one president when he's in office, but not the other. I got it. Okay.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the way they roll.
Partisan at all, yeah.
That is pretty much the way they roll.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Where are we at? Oh, that's right. Gun dealers are going to be forced to sell locks to gun buyers. Now, this is a program that we actually have here in California, and I will just tell you right now, it is idiotic. It says here, Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, that firearms and Second Amendment expert. Yeah, Rashida Tlaib is proposing legislation that would require firearms dealers to try to sell gun locks to for every gun purchase made. The change, she said, would help prevent accidental shootings. The proposed legislation, known as the Safe Storage Saves Lives Act, makes it a requirement that a gun seller have a compatible gun lock available for every firearm for sale, and states that it shall be unlawful for any person to offer for sale a firearm unless that person offers for sale a secure gun storage or safety device that is compatible with that firearm. The bill states that violators of the law would face a penalty of not more than $1,000. Now, this. What happens in states where they require this, you basically get those like single locks with the cord thingy that's on it, with the little itty bitty key that almost always people wind up losing, and then you just simply get a pair of pliers and you cut the lock off. It is literally, in California, you have to sell the lock with the gun, even if you have proof that you have a safe at home.
Even if those, as cheesy as those locks are, they're still 100 times better than the trigger locks that you get from some companies that make them for firearms. One side and another come together around the trigger, and it's just, they're horrible. I don't have a problem with them selling good locks, and I've seen some of those cable locks with actual good keys on them, and they're pretty decent. In fact, the federal law says you must sell a lock with every new handgun purchase. That's the Youth Handgun Safety Act that's been in effect for many, many years. But you're right, Craig. What it ends up being is gun stores have buckets full of gun locks because people don't want them when they buy their guns. They're just there. They give them to you when they buy the gun. Here, I don't want this. You take it back. And it's the same thing. You have to give it to them. It doesn't say they have to keep it. This is a personal responsibility issue, and you can't legislate responsibility. You can't legislate, the children to not use a firearm. You have to teach them to be responsible as well.
Well, and once again, amidst an era where accidental firearm deaths, including among children, is at record lows. I mean, we're talking, it's 90% of what it was at one point. I'm like, at what point are we going to finally
10%,
realize, look,
10%.
you can't keep every bad thing that could happen in the world from happening. You just can't. And at a certain point, how many dumb ideas are we going to put in place? How much are we going to infringe on the rights of the overwhelming majority of people? Because there is a very, 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 very small percentage of people who are just dumb.
Yeah, and it's at 10% of what it used to be.
Yeah.
You kind of stumbled on it there. You know what? You want to give me a free gun lock? I'll take a free gun lock. I'll put it with the rest of my gun locks. I use them for the bicycles and stuff like that. It just doesn't.
Well, but I mean, it's like a $7 or $8 additional purchase that someone has to make, that they really probably didn't even have to make.
Right. That's why I said free, and it's just gonna. All they're doing is continue to drive up the price of firearms to try and discourage you from buying them, trying to create another set of laws to try and scare you into buying them or purchasing them. It's just more from the left. What can we do? Next week it'll be, we gotta hang a giant red flag and a bells and whistles and a light from them just so everybody can see them.
And mind you, I think, Mike, you would agree. I happen to be a big believer in storing your firearms safely and making sure that you have a safe. You keep them out of the possession of children when they're unsupervised children. I keep them out of the way of those who are legally barred from owning or possessing firearms. But you also have to make sure that in that safe storage that they are ready and available for use when you need them.
Listen, if you're not actively using or have constructive possession of the firearm, then it should be locked away. Listen, I do that just for theft reasons. That's
right.
I've got responsible people in my house, and I don't let non-responsible people in my house. So I do that reason. But I also believe that when it's time to go to bed, I'm not locking them all in a safe either. There's going to be one in a place that I know. So when you decide you want to visit me at 3 a.m, we're going to be ready for you.
Oh yes, we most definitely will be. Most definitely will be ready for you. And speaking of being ready, it's time for parting shots. Brought to you by Hog Holsters. Get your Hog Holster today by going to hogholster.com. Make sure you use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All right. Speaking of the Second Amendment, I always love this one. This is a quote that I use quite often when I'm speaking about the Second Amendment from our good friend Mr. Dave Chappelle. It says the First Amendment is first for a reason. The second is in case the first doesn't work out.
It is the backbone of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Point made. Point made. All right, here's number 2. Oh, you'll love this one. Okay, this has got. You want to describe this one to the folks, Mike?
Yeah, who is that? I don't know who that is. Who is that?
That's Gandalf. Gandalf the Grey.
I've never seen that. I've not. What movie is that
That's from Lord of the Rings.
And I've never seen it. Sorry.
Okay.
It's got his face where he's got a concerned look on his face, and it says, "If I spent the entire month of June telling children how much I enjoy heterosexual sex, that would be weird and perverted." And then it's got a little surprised look on his face, and it says, "And yet," but in rainbow colors, it says, "And yet."
Kind of an interesting point. I think you know the point that he's making, right?
Yes.
We spent an entire month of June talking about how much you enjoy the other gender identity or gender orientation. There you go. And, or other gender orientations. And, that's not weird. Anyway. And then we got the guy who's pushing this agenda, our president, basically standing. He looks like he looks like a puppet whose strings have been cut. standing on stage with the presidential seal behind him. And it says that awkward moment when your handlers drop the strings, but you're still on stage.
Yep. That's it. That's it.
Oh, go Joe, go Joe, go Joe. Okay, this last one is fun. Okay, so this is Nina Turner, and she is promoting a campaign for $25 an hour minimum wage. And so this is her tweet, $25 minimum wage.
Congress. Yep, she's running for Congress. Yep.
She's running for Congress, pushing a $25 an hour minimum wage. We're paying our canvassers $15 an hour. Chipping in $15 right now puts a canvasser on the doors in Greater Cleveland for an hour. Can you pitch in? But she wants $25 minimum wage, but she's only willing to pay her folks $15.
Yeah. All right. Well, somebody else will pay it, Craig. They'll just write it off. Come on. It's okay. We'll go to the money tree and get some more.
Hypocrisy at its best, ladies and gentlemen. Hypocrisy at its best. All right, folks. Well, that's about it for today. But before we go, we have to do one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
That's right. Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You can get AR barrels and pistol and rifle caliber. So make sure you check them out. Soon to come Glock barrels. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly. Good fight behind enemy lines. Make sure you pay close attention to the California 6th congressional race. And then, of course, if you want some awesome field gear and some tactical gear and hunting gear, get on over to uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment, visit our sponsors, let them know that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. And with that, our day will be done. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Taco Tuesday. Y'all take care.